Now we are moving on to the crosstalk section. The crosstalk section, we will invite all our speakers on the stage, and it will be led by Mizuki. So now we are going to arrange the seating.
Hello, hello. Okay. Okay. Wow. I'm impressed. Wow. So thank you very much for the wonderful presentations and moderations. And now is the time for interviewing. And so I'm going to through the select the ball. And so if you have the, I'm sure you have the question to the speakers from the different sessions, and also would love to invite the audience, and if there's any questions or comments on the sessions or individual speakers, please do not hesitate to raise your hand. Okay, so firstly, I would like to throw the ball of thread to Sputniko, because you are such a unique contemporary artist to put the oxytocin in Let's Flat. So I'm sure this may be the first time to participate in this kind of, a sort of specialized, the textile-oriented the symposium. So that if the how do you find the symposium? Is there any new, the discovery?
Right. So it's true. Like today, I'm so amazed at the diversity of people that gathered in Hong Kong is talking about textile from a making perspective, history, curation, theory, technology. And it was really interesting to me to see such diverse ideas. And that's true. Like I've not been a textile expert. I was more like technology, speculative design person. But then it was kind of an accident that I stumbled upon this genetically engineered silk. And I started working with these scientists. But yeah, the biggest interesting finding was that I was thinking about technology, I was thinking about future, about textile. It's got such a rich history and silkworm, the history of people working with silkworm. It's like thousands of years, and genetic engineering is sort of speeding up the process of sort of creating these new kinds of silkworm. But people have, in a way, manually worked with silkworms. People made them unable to fly, and people made them more easy to manage. It was like a very DIY, handcrafted progress. And also, the silk industry has so much association with like Asia and development with Japan. So in a way, I stumbled upon this super, super rich history. And it's interesting how there's this rich history, and also, Asia, Europe, gender. But then technology recently, I feel, is sort of connecting with this rich history. I think we use our idea maybe of technology is like these robotic interfaces, hard interfaces, zeros and one. But I think more and more there's material, soft things becoming technological. And it's for me, it's an interesting thing. So I'm seeing more and more research around me, like at Neri Oxman. Also, scientists are working more with soft material, living things, organisms, and they're becoming technological. And in a way, it's sort of making this interesting connection with this textile history. So I don't know if I answered the question well, but that's what I saw. Like this, that's what I'm seeing at the moment.
Okay. That is actually our intention. So happy to hear that. And I would like to pass the microphone to the Janice and the godmother in the discourse of the textile and technology. So that I'm sure you find you have some comments and the question to the other speakers in different sessions.
Well, I'm a bit worried about this godmother thing because, as we remember with The Godfather, they all ended up shot. I think we should thank the audience for their extraordinary patience, actually, because my knee is going from sitting down from too long. Actually, I think one of the big issues, and Anna's touched upon it in terms of making and ethics and responsibility, but I think what we haven't really thought through, and it's tantalizing, I'm sorry there was not enough time for your questions at the end, is in the area of curation. Partly because we have to think, why are we collecting? What is the collection for? To whom are we going to show it? And what does it try to say about history? And I would say nowadays, probably more than anything, I have become more and more fixated with history. And in fact, I've almost gone full circle because, yes, I did train as a painter. I did work in the fiber area. I have to say, the point about it is that it had no function at all, but was to explore an aesthetics between something that was between painting and sculpture. So that's a very 60s thing, okay? But the question, and I did get into university to do history, so it's an irony that I've come 50 years later to think more and more about the question of history. And I'm obsessed with archives. Archives that tell a story, like photography, and that was terrific you the David is fantastic, because what does that image tell us or not tell us about what kind of history and whose story? And that's why archives are so important. So once I can get into an archive, I'm extremely happy. But it still begs the question, is the archive the curation of the future? Or is the curation only through the documentary evidence of what kind of story? So it seems to me that we don't always have the kinds of spaces or the kind of resources to put on the big shows. They take a lot of time, they take a lot of money, and people are also obsessed in management about how many people go through the door. So it's what we call bums on seats. Now, I'm not sure what the value is in that. And is it about learning to re-look and rethink through the archives and those kind of I mean, that's a big question. And that's what I would like to throw out, because we didn't have a chance, really, forgive me, to pick up those points through your discussion.
I can comment on that. I mean, I do believe the museum is not only there to do exhibitions and, get visitors through the door, we're also there to preserve our cultural heritage for the future. So for me, it's very important to think carefully about what we collect and to try and preserve that. Of course, storage is a big issue today, as collections, 50,000 pieces is a lot to store. And every time we bring in another collection, the trustees look at us cross-eyed. But I think we have to continue to grow and continue to push that. And I don't know, our museum too is moving. Well, in the past, we collected an object and no documentation. So you didn't know anything about who made it, who wore it, if it were a dress. Today, we're much more focused on documenting the piece, and we're even taking paper archives to preserve an artist's work. So that's a big part of what is going on at the MFA.
Wanted to make a quick comment since I work for an archive. Although it's an art archive, but there are some similarities in terms of some thought processes and some challenges, as you say. At the moment, my task is really through programming to enliven the archive and really to circulate the information. And it's an art archive, so it's mainly books. But we still say we try to peel off the spines and circulate the knowledge, and that, I think, applies to all of us in terms of just our research or whatever, regardless of what topic or area of interest. The other thing I guess I was going to say about that is I think that is even more possible than with something like fiber, textiles, fashion, all those kind of interrelationships, because it is something that's functional, as we've discussed, something that's wearable, something that's in some ways potentially more democratic because it's something we all have to sort of wear. So there's knowledge embedded already in just in terms of choices that we make, and maybe our understanding through the experiences in the different ways that we work, either through the exhibitions or through research or through art itself, or through, I think, eventually what MIL6 is creating on all these levels. And so I think I find that personally very exciting.
Yeah, I think it is university. You ladies have actually excavated the archive and the document for your practice and research. And so could you a little bit share, your methodology and how to find out, the documents or, textiles, because textile is so fragile. And as some speakers shares, it's quite difficult to, preserve. And, I think sometimes you might find it so difficult to track or trace.
Well, first of all, I had the experience of handling numbers of textile because I used to do movie costume. So, have to dress everybody on screen. So I can handle numbers, I say. I have a feel like how much. So, and my experience with archives, especially in China, that people have them, like very early stage, like what Pam is saying, they have things, but they didn't have the documents. What do you do? So, and I've been very influenced by my experience in the 80s when I was in New York at the FIT archive, and I benefited from hands-on exploring how things are done. So as I can call a maker myself now, then I think that's very important. But it's really, sometimes I grow so tired of archives because, okay, everybody have dragon robes, but how do you dig out the interesting information that makes it relate to the audience? That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah, and I think that should be really the aim or the mission of that institute, which directs how things are handled. And of course, the normal conservation, humidity, and temperature. And I'm very lucky because I seem to be immune to these. You know, I have friends who walk in vintage stores and they sneeze, and I can sleep with hundreds of dirty costumes and I'm still okay. Wesley, you have something to say about collection?
Is there any questions or comments to the other, speakers? No? If you don't, I will open the questions. But
I have one comment. Very early in the program, the question came up in terms of who is going to lead the future of, fashion and technology. And I think what became obvious to us and became a real theme in the exhibition we did is that it's not art, it's not science, it's the collaboration. So many of the pieces we showed were done by a designer in collaboration with an engineer or a technologist or someone else. And I think that is what's so exciting about what is going on today. And I think Sputniko, mentioned that, is that people are working together and scientists aren't afraid of fashion, which is something, for me, is really exciting.
Just wanted to add one small thing to that, because I think what is also interesting is that maybe it was always there, those relationships, but they're at the same time they're also becoming exposed, and there's an awareness of older types of collaboration, or as we were talking about before, how maybe women, since we're talking about women today, have always sort of in some ways worked together in different capacities, and that's exciting to sort of even deepen that knowledge. And then definitely what you were mentioning about new people would then get involved in the process.
Just one more comment. It's not gendered either. There are men working with women, and it's really, if you look at the designers and the scientists in our show, it's a real cross section.
I was going to make an observation in terms of collaboration, actually, in the sense that in the fields of institutions, educational ones, whilst you're talking about cross-fertilization amongst curators and blurring of boundaries, it still has to be the case within education. We are still in pockets and disciplines. I mean, I've been very fortunate because I move across a lot of disciplines. But if you come into a program, you're often in one thing or another. And so how you create, I think, environments where people can brainstorm and work together is a very particular way of thinking about space. The space in which people can move and have those conversations. And our institutions aren't necessarily set up for that.
Could say something about that educational side as well, because at Centre St. Martin's we actually have, interestingly enough, a lot of companies now who want collaborative projects between different departments to happen. For example, animation and textile design, just as an example, for a scarf company who want to animate their patterns. And we really welcome that, and hopefully to expand on that. We're still separate departments. Yeah.
That's the problem. Sorry, but one is still in separate departments. So people actually having conversations inside to set up a kind of fluid space are still a big challenge, because recruitment is about students in one area or another. We haven't broken down those barriers yet.
Yeah.
So, like this idea in PolyU, Hong Kong PolyU, we have institute with textile and clothing. We have a program with the technology, textile technology, fashion design, knitwear design, underwear design, merchandising and marketing, retailing. So we are same department working together. So like me, I do the textile design in the laboratory and the workshop, and collaborate with the researcher of the material science scientists and the technology development. So we also meet the program. So currently the climate, the design, fashion design should be belong to School of Design, right? So we are received the high pressure in the future, how to survive ourselves. Actually, if maybe the material science should be one department, fashion design should be design department. So I think currently we have a very good benefit to receive a lot of knowledge and support from technology in the different program. So I'm very happy to collaborate with the researchers from physical and chemistry people together in team. Okay.
I just want to follow Jenna's point about that sort of breaking boundaries and discipline. I'm sure some of you may have come across it, or just recently come across to me that there was this kind of online information. It's almost this news circulated in saying that what would be the future profession left in design. And certainly those traditional fashion design jobs, graphic design jobs is all gone. What's really left in the future, or maybe in the near future, are those who are sort of data creator, those who are coordinator of some sort of technological information. I don't remember the top of my head, but literally just tell us about how dated our fashion education is. And I'm also from a School of Design sort of department from our university. Although we have newly set up this multidisciplinary research center, which certainly encourage the collaboration not just within disciplines, but also multidisciplinary, meaning that we encourage scientists and medical staff to work with design. This really just rests on the research level, where it has become the exclusivity with those kind of professors and readers, but not really disseminated into the broader education level, which means the younger generations are not exposed to those route of education. So I think there is indeed serious problems of sort of education in response to the change of the future.
From but like a lot of people said what I kind of wanted. It's about collaboration, which is like, okay. So I'm very fortunate that there's a big culture of collaboration at MIT Media Lab, and also Boston, Cambridge is an interesting town for collaboration between scientists. But I think this is really speeding up recently, I feel, because of social media. Because if I want to find out about research, or if I want to contact someone, it's just so easy now. So easy. And I just go Facebook message, email, I meet that person. So I think the boundary between genres is getting, social media really put it down for students. Or just anyone. So that's just a small comment. Yeah.
Okay, and
I think, I don't think it's only just between the artists and scientists or designers, though. I think there are many other disciplines. For example, when I'm thinking about that fluid space, it's also a space where people who've been thinking through history, politics, sociology, anthropology, cultural analysis, community activisms, it's a different kind of way of rethinking maybe value systems. And it's true, there's masses of data, but actually the ones that really know how to read it and interpret it from information and visualization are sociologists.
okay, so I think it's now is the time to open the question from the audience. Do you have any comment or questions to the session or any speakers?
I want to ask a question about a comment that Reiko spoke about. You mentioned something that I found groundbreaking about the Japanese government making the industry recycle its own waste. And I think that's a very important sort of like move forward in sort of like the history of policy and the environment. I wanted to ask the panel in general if this is something that you see going on anywhere else than Japan. Is it happening anywhere else? Are governments working on policies like this?
We just had a conference, Circular Transitions, and there's actually a big push at the Swedish government at the moment to give tax release to people who repair their own stuff at home. Oh, sorry. There's a big policy making process in Sweden at the moment, who are inventing new policies around a tax relief for people who repair their cars or their electronic devices and stuff like that at home.
That's again sort of putting all the brunt on the consumer, not the industry.
Well, I mean, industry as well. I mean, they funded this research project as well to kind of find out how to kind of change the behavior of the producers as well. So yes, I think in the Nordic countries, Scandinavian countries, there's a lot of new policy making going on, and actually they're working directly with politicians on that project.
Any other question? No? Okay, so then the time. Yeah, sure.
You know my obsession. My obsession with Chinese characters with the Silk family. The Chinese and the Japanese the kanji. So Sputnik's Red Silk of Fate. So it's 4 characters, but 3 of them has the silk radical. So it's the red. So I've been doing my own study on these silk radicals, silk families, and in Chinese there are like 250 characters, and I think the Japanese made more, actually. So, but like the red, right? So the red was like, for me, it must have been originated from making the textiles red. And then you have the thread, so naturally it's a textile. But the most amazing one is the fate, because in Cantonese you call it yuan. And then it actually physically means the edge, so as you do a binding. But most people, like, even in textile we use it very little, but it's mostly useful for weddings, where, okay, you two have your fate, so you should be together, something like that. So it's most used in that way. So I'm very happy that this very old character metaphor has been used in your work.
I didn't realize it's true. It all has that.
Yes.
The characters is usually on the left side of the character.
So as Francesca's paper explained the importance of textile and weaving for women, and sort of governing the Chinese nation, it's actually, for me, for the longest time, I thought Chinese textiles are quite square because we're sort of controlled by the loom. It's either this or this. So we don't have a lot of very like interlacing, free-flowing threads. And then, because it's associated with women, all these silk characters are often used in poetry for like relationship. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's such a beautiful comment, and the sharing the knowledge about the Chinese characters. Yeah.
Mizuki, can I ask you a question? I thought something you said yesterday when you were talking about your exhibition and the relationship to the how you came up with it was really interesting. So I would love it if you could share that a little bit with us and the audience.
Thank you. The ball bounced back to me. So, yes, the Texas Series 1.1 area demonstrated video art exhibitions. It's about the women, technology, textile, and art. Actually, that idea come from the picture on the screens. The Hong Kong ladies in textile, the spinning mill, and her dignities. I didn't know. Well, I'm not a specialist on the textile either. So, but this photo made me realize, the textile is really, really, the industry and the techniques women have engaged for many years. But so that is the entrance for me to open up the dialogue. So, and on the other hand, the video is also, open the path for the women artists in the 60s as well. So, yeah, through that exhibitions, I really want to show how women artists have interacted the advanced technology to push their boundary. Is as super speakers and doing right now. So the show will be, the last day of the show is on Tuesday, and Monday is closed, unfortunately. So if you haven't visited, please come to see the show. So thank you very much for all your contributions, and thank you very much for participating in weaving tapestry today. So, and the conversation will continue to the cocktail reception. So, it's a photo sessions. Okay, but that's we can close the discussion now. Yes, then the please speakers stay on the stage. So thank you very much.